extension of road safety, there are people who are very dependent on public transportation, like the BAT, taking the BAT bus. It's so important that the BAT bus is a safe experience, safe for riders, safe for drivers, safe for pedestrians. Oh yeah, we're gonna mention all stakeholders, because in Brockton we have a very unique resident who made it a point to raise awareness, to raise public awareness regarding the risk associated with the BAT bus. And one of the things I have to give him credit for, I mean, this gentleman, his name is Richard Ripley. And if you don't know him, you should get familiar with him. Richard Ripley, AKA the BAT bus guy, because he fights and advocates for BAT bus safety. One of the things that he's acknowledged and observed is that he's created his own risk event incidents log, which documents the number of events that happen on BAT bus. So let's just talk about it for a minute, right? What is the risk profile? So in Brockton, there's over 500 bus routes driven a day by drivers and ridden by riders. Now, what's the probability of somebody getting hurt? I'd say it could be high. It's just based on the frequency of the number of routes. 500 a day. That's over 2,500 within 5 days. So one of the things that was observed was that in 2023, there was over 60 documented instances where either there was an incident where somebody got hurt or the bus started driving off before everybody was seated. And one of the things that's interesting is that from Richard Ripley's initiative, we all know when we see a BAT bus to watch out. We know that we got to make sure every passenger is seated before that bus drives off. We know that there was an incident in November 2024 where there's a lady at Sullivan Tower who's in a wheelchair who got hit by a BAT bus. How did that happen? And if you would have watched the news report on this, you would observe all the other residents who are dependent on the BAT bus, who they're now scared. They're worried about their own safety. And so it's so important that we provide them with the security and assurance that we can by making sure that with BAT bus, there's certain standards that they're adhering to, and those standards are visible, meaning written right on the bus, so that riders and drivers see it, know it. If somebody's in breach of one of those standards, anybody on that bus could flag it. You're in violation. And so I wanted to take my hat off and really thank Richard Ripley for raising public awareness around the risk associated with being a rider, a driver, and a pedestrian anywhere within the BAT bus environment. And we want to make sure that we supply the right kind of resources so that BAT bus drivers have the resources they need so they know how they can be the safest drivers, the best drivers. Because I love BAT bus drivers. I've met them, and I know they're concerned about the safety of everybody who rides the BAT. So I want to say thank you for Richard for raising this public awareness. We need more people in Brockton to be aware of this risk, and more city councils that can address this risk by asking for the executive director of BAT to come before them to talk about what steps is BAT taking to effectively manage risk and make sure BAT bus isn't just free, but safe.
I'm going to begin by giving a brief address of what's going on. I know most of you know, but what's going on is on the buses. It's been going on since February 10th, 2022. There's a dangerous threat on the bus. So far, another one yesterday, so 114 people in Brockton have had their safety endangered by bus drivers who drive dangerously and aggressively. Recently, in the last few months, a couple of elderly grandmothers have been seriously hurt and put in the hospital. There's been a series of more dangerous and aggressive incidents for some people in Brockton. I myself have been a 4-time victim. So I wanted to start this conversation today with Luz by asking you, I know we talked about last week about the threat. I informed you, and I think I opened your eyes to what's going on in the city about the buses, because it's hard for me to reach most of the people, But anyway, we talked about, I showed you the letter from the city where they investigated, the city solicitor, and BAT and the city investigated the problem. They admitted there were problems on boarding and deboarding, but the city also stated in the letter that it's not a city problem, it is a BAT bus problem. And I wanted to get your input on how do you feel about that? When there's a dangerous threat like this in the city, that's been going on as long as it has, and it's all documented, does the city have a responsibility to address it? I mean, it's happening in the city to the people of Brockton. Does the city have a responsibility, in your opinion? How do you feel about that?
Yes. So in short, yes, the city always has a responsibility to respond and take care of and protect their constituents. So I'll say that in short. You are not someone who just sees the issue and you're banging the drum on bus safety. You ride the bus. You live with our elders. You live within the community. You see the impacts, the tragedy, the pain, everything that's coming from riding the bus, and the mishandling, the response, the lack of care.
And I understand the city saying that, okay, it's basically a BAT management issue, but the fact that BAT refuses to respond to it, it has to be a city issue, because the solution can't be for the city to say, okay, it's not our problem, it's up to BAT to address it. And then when BAT says, no, we're not going to address it, and they have, and MassDOT said the same thing, I have the emails, that they don't feel that that the public needs to be informed. But this has been going on so long, and the recent serious injuries to a couple of grandmothers, it puts it back to the city. The solution can't be for the city of Brockton, and when I say the city of Brockton, I mean the mayor, the police chief, and all the city councilors. The solution can't be for them to say, sorry, there's nothing we can do. These are your constituents. These are good, honest, hardworking people in Brockton whose lives are being endangered.
Yeah.
You must step in and address it. To say it's not our problem, and to know that the people out there are getting on the bus, not aware of the threat, and you know it, and you're putting them in harm's way. I just think that can't be the solution. I don't want to scare the people in Brockton. I just want to inform and educate them about their rights to get on a bus safely. I know a lot of people think, oh, you're in Brockton, you get on the bus, you're carrying groceries, you're carrying your baby, or you're an elderly person with a cane or a walker, pulling your bag of groceries behind you. Many people, and this is very sad, they think that you get on the bus driver just hits the gas, moves the bus, you shake and you try to fall and hold on to something. They think that is totally normal, but it is not. It is not normal.
Yeah.
There are laws that protect you for that, and I want to express them to them and inform them of their rights, what the laws are, how to address it, how to respond to it, how to recognize it, so they can be safe on the bus.
Right.
Because I was a 4-time victim.
Yeah.
And I witnessed one time, I think I have the email at home, a young mother was carrying her infant child. She's trying to stand there, hold her baby, put the money in on the bus while the bus is moving all over the place. I mean, that is extremely dangerous.
Yes. Something you mentioned to me was the main reason you wanted to involve your elected officials is because you wanted to be able to translate the information. Let people know what their laws are, their rights are.
In a language they understand.
Yeah.
And I can't do that. I've addressed this with Moses Rodriguez and with Jean Bradley Derincourt. Moses Rodriguez represents the Cape Verdean community, and Jean Bradley Derincourt the Haitian community. And I went to them to ask for their help on just what we just said about I wanted to go into the community, the immigrant communities, and I wanted to inform and educate them about the threat on the bus. But I told them, look, they don't know me, I don't speak their language, they're not going to listen to me, of course I can't speak to them. I said, I want to work with you, and like Moses, he's the executive director of the Cape Verdean Association. And I asked, could you have someone come in with me who can translate for me, and we can go in there and inform the people. I don't want to see anyone get hurt.
Yeah.
Neither one of them responded. And I don't understand that, how they could not respond to someone who's trying to do the right thing. And that really bothered me a lot. 2 years ago, I had just arrived back in Brockton after being away for 51 years, I think. And I was I just retired, I'm disabled, I moved here. I was thinking, where do I want to move to spend the rest of my life? And I said, hey, let me go back home to Brockton. So I came here, I was just enjoying my retirement. Then I got threatened on the bus 4 times. The mayor wouldn't listen, that bus wouldn't listen, nobody would listen to me. And I said, this is wrong, I can't do this, I have to fight. So I ran for mayor, I was a nobody, no money, no nothing, no name, nothing. And I got 1% of the vote in the preliminary election. I was a nobody, but I stood up and did the right thing to try to make Brockton a little better, because I don't want to see anyone get hurt. And I've been knocked on my butt quite a few times since in the last 2 years, but I've never given up. And now I'm starting to make much more progress with your help.
You don't mind speaking to the people fear retaliation.
Yes, what happened is this. I'll quickly tell you because I want to leave you 10 minutes to talk. What happened is this. I live at Bel Air Towers in Brockton, 105 Bel Air Street. And when I first moved in there, and just before Thanksgiving, I went to their monthly Tenants Association meeting. And we all talked about, in fact, I didn't bring it up, they did, about the buses, how unsafe the buses are, how they get on the bus with their cane or their walker or they're pulling their bags of groceries. And this isn't every bus driver, I want to be clear. Many bus drivers are excellent. In fact, there's a group of bus drivers, when they see me, because I do a lot of walking, I don't take the bus that often, they see me and they beep their horn because they know what I'm doing is right, but they can't speak because they're bus drivers and they can't speak, they can't support me. But anyway, what happened is this, and a lady, she speaks Portuguese at Bel Air Tower, she's elderly and disabled. She got on the bus and she read the signs, and the signs in Portuguese directing her, if you need more time to find a seat, speak to the driver. She went to the bus driver speaking in Portuguese. The driver didn't know what she was saying. Didn't know what she was saying. So she had to struggle to find a seat and nearly fell down. And other people talked about how the bus drivers do the same thing. They move the bus. And what I found out is all the residents do support me in this effort, but they're scared of retaliation from BAT. They're afraid because right now the BAT bus stops at the front door. BAT, I guess before that, the bus used to stop off property down on Bel Air Street, which is like a little hill, and it's probably half a block away. And when you're elderly and you got a cane or a walker in inclement weather, and you got to walk all the way down there with groceries and come back with groceries, that's dangerous to them. And they're willing to risk their life to be possibly hurt. So the bus stops right there. They're afraid to speak because they don't want the buses to stop stopping at the main entrance. And that is no way for us to live. We should not fear retaliation.
Right, and be put in danger in that way.
Yes. Oh, and let me tell you this. One lady, she's on the Tenants Association board. I think she keeps the minutes of the meeting, or she does the opening prayer or something. And I was on the bus. She didn't see me. She got on the bus, and she had pulling her groceries, and the driver moved the bus. And this is the truth now. It's all documented. It's on the bus tape. I've asked BAT to bring those bus tapes to show at least the mayor and the city council have a private viewing so that they can see with their own eyes what I'm talking about. She got on. She was pulling her cart. He hit the gas. She was going down to the floor of the bus, and quick-thinking passengers jumped up and went underneath her and stopped her from hitting the floor of the bus. She could be in the hospital now.
Yeah.
But even after that, she refuses to speak up because she's willing to put up with that once in a while threat in order for the bus to stop it there. And that is no way for elderly people to live. We're all elderly.
Yeah.
We're all in our 60s, 70s, 80s. We're all have various problems, and we should not be afraid to speak up about safety because we fear retaliation.
Absolutely. Also, what kind of respect and care does it show on the city's behalf to our elders, who most of them have, served our country, have been our healthcare workers, our care providers, and so this. I'm
glad you said serve our country, because something came into my head.
Please share.
This happened on Saturday afternoon, April 12th. That's in my head. The bus was, we're at Walmart on Oak Street. The bus was going to Oaks, from Walmart up to Oak Street to take a turn. There was an elderly disabled man in a wheelchair, but he wasn't in the chair. He was sort of had his foot on the ground. I guess he was trying to get up into the wheelchair. The driver pulled up and refused to put down that ramp for that gentleman. Later on, because I put his picture in my report, I put it online and gave it to the mayor and the city council and BAT. Someone responded, "Hey, I know that guy. He's a veteran. He's a Brockton veteran. He served our country. When the country called, he went and served to protect our freedom and fight for us." And his life was threatened. He had to struggle to get his chair up onto the bus. The driver just sat there, did nothing.
And no help.
He struggled to get to a spot on the bus where he just stood there. He wasn't sitting down, and the bus driver moved the bus again. And then I don't know if I said something to the driver or anything, but anyway, he finally, when the bus stopped at a red light on Oak Street and where Walmart is, he finally pushed his chair and he got to another place and he sat down. But that is a terrible, terrible thing to happen. And again,
It is.
that is on the bus tape. I've asked BAT, I've asked the mayor, I've asked the city council, I sent them all the information. I said, I understand BAT can't publicly release the tapes to the general public because there's confidentiality and you
Right.
can't release it. But they certainly can set up a private viewing for the mayor and the elected officials. They can be trusted because the mayor, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the mayor of Brockton is the chairman of BAT's advisory board, which oversees safety issues,
Yes.
and also is chairman of BAT's board of directors. Their highest elected official. So the mayor has influence.
Yes.
And when this happened with this veteran, I said, just talk to BAT. Set up this private interview so you can see with your own eyes what I'm telling you.
Yes.
They won't do it. I'm going to start with a couple of questions for you. I wanted to ask you, could you describe any incidents or safety issues on the city bus that you've noticed on the buses in Brockton? Very quickly, you don't have to go into a lot of detail.
I have noticed in the past when you're waiting on the bus and the bus comes, the drivers always tell me, oh, if there's no room on the bus, you have to wait until the next one. And there's times I've seen teenagers sitting down when a handicapped person is trying to get on the bus and they won't give the seat up.
Do you believe that the people of Brockton have a right to get on a city bus, on a Brockton Transit bus safely without the driver illegally moving the bus and threatening their safety?
Yes.
You do. Thank you.
There's corruption on buses, elderly getting hurt. A few months ago, there were 2 elderly who got hit by buses, and the mayor did not do anything to help them. They swept it under the rug.
I just wanted to ask you one more question on the bus that I've asked most other people who've come on the show. I wanted to ask you, if you make it to the city council, do you agree that if there's like what's going on in the buses, the dangerous threats, people being hospitalized, do you believe that the city council, I know they don't have a legal obligation, but you believe you have a moral obligation because of your constituents to show some concern and address the issue with their families and let them know, like the 2 women in the hospital? Would you think if that happened when you were a city councilor to your constituents, would you take the step of, do you think you would have the responsibility to address it publicly with the people?
Yes, I would. You know, I don't know what happened to the 2 people that got injured. One got injured over by Stairway to recovery, and the other one got injured at a high-rise
Sullivan Towers.
at Sullivan Towers. And I do know that the mayor and the city council did nothing to reach out to the families to let them know. And I think that is downright ugly, and it's rude, and they should have notified the people. And it's really, it's really ugly when the companies don't take responsibility for people getting hurt. I think, just like the mayor, they sweep it under the rug and they don't want to deal with it. Now,
Sadly, that's true.
If there was a lawsuit on those 2 people that got injured, the city of Brockton and the BAT company has to pay out. I don't know if they did. I don't know if they will, but they should settle with those 2 injured people.
Well, because first of all, I want to say it should be BAT's responsibility to get this message, all these messages out to the people, all these rules and policies and laws to keep people safe. That is why I've been fighting for so long to get the city council to exercise their power and authority to issue a resolution that would bring BAT before the city council, and they would be held accountable to explain to the city council and the public what is going on in the bus, why it's still going on for 29 months now, and why they can't get a hold of the problem, why there's this group of drivers, because there are a lot of good drivers, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of really nice drivers, but there's a group of drivers that don't care. But I don't know if they don't care because they really don't care, or BAT management is pushing them to keep the buses moving, keep them moving, get the people on and hit the gas and go, because they have to keep schedules around the city. Otherwise, the whole city will back up in traffic. But the law says safety comes first. Safety comes first. It's supposed to, but it doesn't, and that's what we need to address. Issue with the BAT buses. Now, I want to first say I used to live at Kennedy Drive, across from the North Middle School now. When I went there in the 60s, it was junior high. But anyway, it's a middle school now, North Middle School. And my window in my apartment, I don't live there anymore. I've since moved, but I could see the buses as they arrive. And I'm not exaggerating. I would see every day between 50, 60, and 70 school kids for the junior high, and some for the elementary school down the road, getting on and off those buses. And I don't think many parents realize how many of their kids are actually on those buses. And as you know, there's a dangerous ongoing threat on the buses. I've addressed it with the city and the city council and the school committee. I've sent them all the documents, and they're of the opinion that it is not their problem that the kids are being endangered. No one's been actually injured, but the threat and the endangerment is there. And there was one video, it happened about a year and a half ago. I sent it to the mayor, the city council, the school committee, and everybody that needed to know. And it was about a kid. He got on the bus near West Junior High School. He was, you've been on a bus?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
yeah.
now there's you have the fare box and the front doors.
Yep.
The kid got on the bus, the young kid, he probably 13 or something, and as soon as he got on the bus, the bus driver hit the gas and moved that bus. That kid got stuck standing between the fare box and the front doors, facing the windshield with his knapsack, trying to fish for his money to pay his fare. And that went on for maybe about 7 or 8 blocks down West Elm Street, heading towards downtown.
Right.
And you could see on the camera his body shaking, and then when he turned, you could see the scared look on his face, and the driver is hitting the gas, slowing down, and the kid's scared.
Right.
And finally he found his money, and he finally paid it, and he went and sat down. But if the problem with that is, first of all, it's illegal to move that bus while anyone's forward of that standee yellow line, and second of all, if a dog or a cat or a kid on a bike suddenly cut in front of that bus, and that bus driver had to slam on those brakes, that kid, I'm not exaggerating, that kid would have went right into the windshield of that bus. Right. And that is on videotape. The BAT company has the tape. I've asked the city, I've sent it to the mayor and the city councilors. I said, please ask BAT to set up a private viewing for you, the elected representatives, because you can be trusted, because they can't release the tape to the general public because there's confidential information and pictures of people's faces. But set up a time so you can view it and see with your own eyes what the threat that young kid faced. Yeah. And that's the threat that is on the buses. And what I wanted to ask you is, how do you feel about that? Does the mayor or the city or the school superintendent, who has, or do they have any responsibility to act with an abundance of caution and just alert and warn the parents so they know about what's going on and they can speak to their kids? How do you feel about that? I think they should, but the mayor says no.
Yeah, so let me start just by saying this. Look, I grew up on the east side, right around the Ashfield School area, which is the northeast side. I had friends that lived in the village, the Lithuanian village. And then when I started high school, playing football, we had friends that were all around the city. So during the weekends or when we wanted to go hang out, our parents weren't always around, so we had to take the bus, right? Especially during the summertime. That was where we would take the bus and we'd go all the way up to the Westgate Mall when it was cool to walk around it as kids. But let me just say this. It's something that I grew up doing, and I thought my kids would be able to grow up doing.
Not anymore.
So I had one of my kids go to take the bus because I saw that a lot of these high school kids are taking the bus after school to get home because they don't have buses. Right. And this is even before for kids. It's always been. And so I reached out to a few friends of mine, a few people in the police department, and I asked them, so what's really going on? Is it safe for my kids to get on the bus? Mm-hmm. And their response to me was, I wouldn't have my own kids go on that bus. And the problem is that...
That's what I've been trying to get across to the mayor and the city councils and the school superintendent. Yeah. In fact, I went to a school committee meeting, and in my 3-minute period where the public can speak, I tried to address it. And they interrupted me, so I couldn't get
I'm sure,
everything
yeah.
out because they said there was something wrong with the volume, and they didn't give me all my time. And I was trying to address it, and they just sort of ignored it, and they said, oh, he's a troublemaker, he's a bat bus guy,
Yeah.
he's crazy, he's just a troublemaker, don't listen to him. But this threat is real.
Hey, I'm going to be honest with you. Campaigns are won sometimes on one issue. So what I would say is that they should take everybody serious when it comes to the safety of especially kids, but not only kids, but our citizens in the city of Brockton. To actually answer your question that you asked before, whose responsibility is it?
Is it the mayor?
I'm going to tell you, I think it's everybody's responsibility. I think it's the parents. I think it's the mayor. I think it's all the citizens, the police, the fire, everybody.
Yeah, but the parents will not know unless some city official tells
So
them.
what I would say is that I believe his name is Mr. Lambert, who's over
Michael Lambert, he's executive director.
Yeah, who's over BAT. I think they should be having town halls. I think they should be having community meetings.
I've asked that. I can share the emails, but
yeah.
they ignore me.
I think that this is an issue where, and now they just extended this free BAT bus
Another year.
Another year. Look, the students were getting on the BAT bus for free anyway, right? Now you're having the transients and the vagrants now just taking the bus,
Especially the hot weather, they get
as
nice
a
cool
cooling area,
bus.
right? And so when you get on the bus, not only is it unsafe, I'll be honest, I just walked inside and there was a guy yelling at me in the parking lot. He wasn't yelling at
they
me.
closed the homeless place over here.
He wasn't yelling at me, but he was yelling profanities.
Off his medication.
Yeah, exactly. So these are the same guys that are getting on these buses, right? So I understand where the bus drivers probably are getting a little bit irritated at their job, having to drive certain people around the way that they have to drive them around. They might be a little bit loud.
The bus is free for everybody
Right,
unless you're
so
causing troubles.
I would say the safety issues not only are for the citizens and the riders, but it's also for the drivers. And I'm sure they are highly stressed.
We like Luz Villar, she's another candidate for mayor. Her and I are going to do a public safety campaign. We're going to go into the community, the immigrant communities with translators and literature to hand out in all the 5-6 languages, explaining safety, how to address it, what it is,
Right.
how to recognize it, how to protect yourself.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get back and ask you one other thing. I want to stress to the audience that I know a lot of the parents out there, you don't realize your kid's on the bus. You think, oh, the kid's going to school and he's walking around or she's walking around. You don't, and I don't think you realize how many of your kids are actually on these buses. Because I've seen it with my own eyes. In high school too. I go to on the west side sometimes and I see all the kids after school, all on and off those buses and during school breaks. So whether you realize it or not, your kids are on those buses.
Yeah, just to add to that, I would say this. Look, I go to pick up one of my kids from school early, maybe for a doctor's appointment or whatever, and it's like 1 o'clock, and I see 200 kids walking to the BAT bus, and I was flabbergasted to
Bus
see
holds
that.
about 437 or 40 or 50 if you're standing up.
So I go and I ask. I said, why are all these kids leaving school? And they're not all seniors. It's going for their. I guess seniors are allowed to leave early. But it's because a lot of these kids that take that bus, there's a few buses that go through there, right there on at the entrance to the high school. But it's because if they don't leave school early,
the 3 comes right down there. to downtown.
they miss that bus and they have to wait another half hour. So these kids are leaving school early, missing their last class because
They just walk out of school?
Yeah, because the BAT bus runs on their schedule, the school runs on their schedule. There's no communication. And I think it's a detriment to the kids. I believe in public transportation.
Oh, we definitely
Believe in
no
it, and I
question
think that it
we
should
need
just
it, but
be
it needs to be
safe.
safe
Exactly.
for everybody, the drivers and the passengers.
Yeah.
But do you think it should be the school superintendent address it, or the police chief, or the city council, or who should address it with the parents?
Yeah.
I'm assuming the school superintendent.
I would say so. The school superintendent
Well, the
works
school
for
committee,
the
yeah.
school committee. So